sailor that President Trump pardoned yesterday, and it was an incredible miscarriage of justice. It was a double standard that we saw happen with this poor sailor who was sent to jail for a year for a couple of pictures that were born classified at the lowest level, confidential. But he's out now, and now he has had his future given back to him by President Trump. So we want to celebrate that with him, and we want to talk to him about that, have him give his perspective on what has happened and what that means in his life. So he'll be joining us in the next segment, anxious to talk to Christian Saucier. I want to finish up on gun control because we had the Florida governor sign a $400 million gun control bill. Let me tell you what is in this besides banning bump stocks, which were not even alleged to have been used in the Florida shooting. But it also, the bill was originally going to allow teachers to be armed on a broader basis. But they had to have that augmented. Governor Scott didn't want teachers to be armed for self-defense. He doesn't like that idea. He only wants people with uniforms. And, of course, where did he get that idea? Well, he got that idea from the Florida Education Association, the FEA. And they told him, they said, we urge you to honor your instincts and to act to keep additional firearms from our schools unless they're in the hands of trained law enforcement personnel. You know, those official people in uniform that stood outside and did nothing? The sheriff's department, the people who were assigned to protect that school and did nothing? Those uniform characters? Meanwhile, you've got a real hero who had nothing but his body to put in the way of the bullets. And he was killed. Why don't we allow heroes? You don't have to wear a uniform to be a hero. And as we saw with these cowardly sheriff's deputies, you can wear a uniform and not be a hero. How about allowing people who have the disposition, the ability, who have been vetted, who have been trained, who are not afraid of guns, who understand what this is about? How about giving them some tools to protect themselves and to protect other people? See, the answer in this case is to allow more liberty, not take liberty away. That's the way we get a better society. It's always the right answer to add more freedom and to give freedom to law-abiding, responsible people because they don't need to be the only people unarmed in the room. See, the crazy people, the criminal people, they're going to be able to get guns on the black market regardless. Do you think that your gun-free zones are any more real than your drug-free schools? No. Your schools aren't drug-free. Your schools aren't gun-free. And we need to allow people to at least defend themselves against guns. Anyway, as I go through this, the immediate response of the NRA was to sue Florida over the gun bill. Same day that Governor Scott signed it into law. They said, we filed a lawsuit against the state for violating the constitutional rights of 18 to 21-year-olds, said the NRA. And they said this blanket ban violates the fundamental rights of thousands of responsible law-abiding Florida citizens and is thus invalid under the 2nd and the 14th Amendments. Now, see, the 14th Amendment, that's kind of equal protection of the law. That's what we're talking to Christian Saucier about. It means that people in power don't get special privileges that the rest of us don't enjoy. But, of course, FBI Director James Comey isn't down with that idea. We got a lot of people in Washington that don't agree with that. The complaint says the law particularly affects young women. The NRA said females between the ages of 18 and 21 pose a relatively slight risk of perpetrating a school shooting. Have we had any school shootings of females between the ages of 18 and 21? Not that I'm aware of. They said, however, they are frequently the victims of that type of crime. And let me give you an example of this. This is a case that was highlighted by Reason Magazine. And they asked if this is a situation with, it's in Illinois, an Illinois woman who is a licensed firearm owner and looking to live in the East St. Louis Housing Authority's homes, tenants. And they said, well, sorry, you are licensed to own a firearm, but you have to prove to us that you don't have one before you can live here. You have to we have to take your firearms. Now, she has filed a complaint, and the plaintiff, they don't give her name. She's listed as Ms. Doe. She wants to keep the weapon for self-defense. Why? Because she has repeatedly been threatened. Well, she's been repeatedly threatened with her ex-boyfriend. And They say, according to the complaint, she's being actively threatened by her abusive ex-husband. Sorry, not boyfriend, but husband. A convicted murderer who, while on parole, visited shocking violence on her, including choking her into unconsciousness, beating her so severely that she bled internally, and threatening to kill her and her children should she end their relationship. So she's married to this guy. He goes to jail for murder. He gets out. She doesn't want to have anything to do with him. And then he chokes her into unconsciousness, beats her so severely she had internal bleeding, and threatens to kill her. Now, the government that doesn't keep this murderer in prison, who turns him out, is also going to unleash him on her without giving her any means of protecting herself. She wants to keep a weapon for self-defense, but she's been threatened with eviction by both the housing agency and its executive director unless she can verify that she doesn't keep a firearm at home. And her ex-husband was sent back to prison because of the assaults on her, where he beat her until she was bleeding internally. This murderer, convicted murderer, who got out on parole. I don't understand that. Why isn't this guy still in prison? He went back to prison because he beat her up, but now he's out again. And he has been threatening her again. But the government that won't keep this guy in prison won't let her have a firearm to protect herself. That's what the NRA is saying about in Florida. They're saying you're taking away guns from law-abiding citizens 18 to 21, and you're taking away guns from women who are 18 to 21. Not going to allow them to protect themselves. Because, you got to have a man in uniform around to protect you. Well, the men in uniform aren't always there. Honest cops like Sheriff Clark will tell you. He told his own people. He said, look, we'll do everything we can to protect you, and we'll get there as soon as we can. But when you call the police, understand that you're going to have to be able to protect yourself until we can get there. And so he said, get a firearm and learn how to use it responsibly. And things are not going to get any better in Florida. The Democrats voted unanimously to take away the guns from the 18 to 21-year-olds, and they're not going to stop there. Democrat Representative Deutsch said the gun bill that Florida signed is, quote, merely the beginning of the response to Parkland. Yeah, he wants to ban all the guns, folks. We've reported this many times. You know that this is where they're headed. They have talked about this multiple times. We went to the gun control rally here in Austin. They had the mayor pro tem, the number 2 guy in the city of Austin, get up there, and they had one counter-protester of all these people who were protesting our ability to protect ourselves. One counter-protester with a sign up there. And we filmed that. We were there reporting on it. We filmed it. They all got around him. They started pushing him and shoving him.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and say, see, I told you so, that communist Chinese-style net censorship was coming to the web, because it's already here. It's being announced. The way you keep the internet open and free is you get involved more than ever. Go to Infowars.com/app. A new battleship in the fight. Infowars Live, available right now. We're looking for a crew to man it. You going to sit down and play games and be a trendy? Or are you going to be part of history? Don't sit by and let the internet and free speech be stolen from you. Take action.